Hello, Connecticut, Hartford, New York, and Boston. In the States. Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York. And Puerto Rico. Now, this, for example, in Puerto Rico, with a hydroelectric dam, they bring in from a river, they bring the water in, they fill it up. And now it has an open bottom where it spins the rotors. When you spin a rotor, it moves a magnet around the coil. And from the magnet, you see, when you put two magnets together, they attract together. But if you flip them over on the other side, the polarity nature is seen. But there, body of value that is clear. A clear body isn't a value is in demonstration to us all ways. Within nature and temperance that is beyond our control, as the range of positive that is of our physical body simultaneously with that of our metaphysical body, our nature, as a correlation nature, further by what is the determination of the range of what is positive or negative, that the identity of space will not go beyond. So either keeping what is our temporary value, positive progression here, or forcing it away as positive to it stayed, but as negative to us. Us as the negative value nature more made because it's more positive value nature being made. Because the rest of nature is in a quality of diffusion that has no criminal, especially legalized criminal persuasions. And then that was originally, and is progressed, juxtaposed with overt criminal persuasions, with criminal enterprises. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a criminal. I'm going to demonstrate Puerto Rican interbranch and Connecticut interbranch roles with what is internation, also with internation families here, per a method keeping all victim predators, per areas, per method that did this through before branches, before our America's founders. Internation sciences had slavery entrenched in different nations, not for money, per roles with inter-science fake identity. In other words, this was extorting kings and queens as it was forcing them to be the face of the pretended identity in what is now Connecticut, before, when it was just a colony, with zoning laws that were uncharged then and now, which was tactically a criminally denatured relationship to nature. See, now this is a quality of fact treatment nature using correlation that decimates suit and tie what they've been, the convictions they've been making regarding fact treatment and value and means. You know, that's why we're in the zoning laws with the businesses, the same little box. You see what I'm saying? So if you have all the whole ocean there, so you have all those means to gather all these water from different spots, put it to fill the dam, and then just have it dump right back into the ocean. And then as a process and owned by it to be evolving. So all the space nature taken to do that is also being used for other stuff. You see what I'm saying? Now energy comes out of nowhere. Then so does evolution. So does means, like, we're in a tactically denatured relationship to nature. And we're in a tactically denatured value nature system. And when and how and where and why. Identity is a value nature system, is the value nature system. So we don't have truth when defending what denies this. This is what they put slavery, that was the real agenda, was for a fact treatment nature racket. Before, then as the value of, and beyond the value of, only that realized database racket roles, motivations to it, hurt reaction role to natures to it, reaching nature roles, with the motivations of the colonies with slavery, which is an organized crime. that was juxtaposed with in other natures of organized crime. And so we have physical delusions. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer. Well, I'm an expert on the nature of English grammar and of correlation and of sequence nature, relationship to it. This is the way space English was revealed to teach about space nature system. This is why the predicate act is discerned in relationship to criminal enterprises. Why its relationship to the predicate discerned in relationship to positives, unchanging positive relationship to itself inherently, actively, and progressively. It will only be that. Otherwise, it's an improper sentence, as we'll examine. Campus Marcius, an ancient gaming system. Marcius. It's spelled not with a T. Campus lies, what I'm saying. Convictions lie. We have criminally so in other words, you could we have the technology now to lift the water, to fill it right from the sea. That means to bring in means to the island, raise its height and everything. You know what I mean? And make this is colonization's slavery infrastructure uncharged. Uncharged because everyone fell for the tactic with the culture. That's to the tactic to a fact treatment racket, that's a bridge fact treatment style. Then justifications of that start stranger fights with strangers, because it's also attached to a tactic that uses investigations maintained with overtly criminal enterprises, legal ones, and unrealized ones, juxtaposed with this. And methods and natures of all as knaves, lie progression cover-up natures. Lie progression cover-up natures in relationship to the actual value nature system as the identity of space, which demonstrates that only one way causes positive value nature progression is called evolution. Not with physical delusions. I mean, there has to be three ways at once. Not evolution that causes de-evolution and negative. That's negative value nature somewhere else. You see what I'm saying? We have quick sequence shifting justification natures, preventing people from demonstrating original and progressed interbranch offensive database solution stacking against people from all areas. This is another nature of slavery where they're using criminal justice internation together. And this is how and why they have unrealized passions with flags and with identities tactically only let realized to a value nature systems tactically ulterior to the one that's shared with and as the value of the sequence nature, which is an identity that has only one definition of the range that is positive unto itself that will not change and will force it from here. Lethe of Hades, negative value nature. We are in a progression as a progressive value. We're forging the value we stay as the phenomena of identities, which is a quality of diffusion in relationship to the nature of diffusing through Earth. This is science, and because it's also verifiable in many ways, always. See, but we have other than science being defended. That's why even the fake news, because it's in relationship to how we have justifications of this formally. They can't justify that and admit a quality of fact treatment approaches and stuff like that necessary to counter what is internation fake identity fluent right through nations to the laws of courts and of criminals in the same rackets together and against innocent people with and as that nature that you can't speak for justice, so it tries to hurt because it's a victim predator nations. In other words, there are means. That's unbelievable energy. They have one hydroelectric dam they have doing all in Las Vegas, pretty much. That's why I heard somewhere, read somewhere, or it's a variety of places. That's what it is. And I got like, did my own research about the magnet. You put the magnet around a coil, that energy jumps from the magnet into the wire. So the water and the weight of the stacked up water then rushing through the little hole at the bottom of the dam with the holes with the generators in it. Then you take that energy that goes into the coil and you pass it around, and you light up more than you need for Puerto Rico. You see what I'm saying? And then you have backup thing. You know something could happen. So science, what's it do? Correlation. It doesn't stop there. You know, and it doesn't start with things separated. You know, it brings all around correlation. It means rise together or be the nature that doesn't let it. And it doesn't stay neutral. It's Lethe of Hades. There's only neutral to being. In other words, now, top down, formal criminal insidiousness nature that can't defend that, and us at the same time. They need to hide styles needing to hide lies, delusions, premises on a mass scale. Needing to defend means to do that by blaming things on money, by blaming things on zoning laws and stuff like that. Rip the zoning laws up. You know what I'm saying? That's no excuses for that. And then they have roles with the Sandy Hook, tied to the criminal injustice with the Puerto Rican and with KKK and deans related to roles with all the police forms and medical corruption, especially with psychology, interscience, recorded interbranch, and recorded with the prisons, especially with the racket knaves. Database crime relationship to Sandy Hook, and especially if that story was made up, because the only let realize yet breach news recorded, and then they pretended to not realize, and the only let realized. The thing is, that's how you do. That's means. It's correlation. If we're not nations all working to be that nature and of the identity we are together, no matter every spot, in relationship to its course. In other words, where's the water coming up? You know what I'm saying? That's an unchanging variable. And that's that's important too, because that's evolution. This is like with the algorithm, the unchanging variable. And then there's correlation. That's the value of everything, is a correlation nature. Why? Because this is the identity system. This is ratiocination. We've had pseudo-ratiocination defended in ratiocin's name to keep that as a weapon. With and as private relationships, the courts, the branches, interbranch. Victim predators, predators. How? Recorded, motivated, tied to this. See, now, people say that this is debatable because they're not dealing with sequence shifts that show this is real. They're not dealing with, evidence fabrication rackets, tall areas. That's why we have like gang problems and stuff like that in Puerto Rico. They have that same problem here. You know what I mean? Those are victim predators of criminally legalized criminal insidiousness, reactions, laws, pseudo-sophistication. Now they say, they're tied, they have money, whatever like that. That sophistication has a comparison nature. And there's obligations for us to discern such in relationship to being able to tell American history. Because this was established here before our founders were even born, to prevent American, to prevent history from being told, to keep it, everyone roles justifying and defending convictions with the sciences, recorded, criminally engineered, because that maintains functionality to this, to all areas, to all positions, even chiefs. And the nature of industry was and is originally not free, pretending other, sequence shifting, pretending credibility to courts that were doing this to hide it, so you can't report it anywhere because our own police were juxtaposed with internation police and family, especially with psychology corruption. This is juxtaposed with triages, or with triage relationship as one. I think there is no plural for that, as triage, because it's showing one relationship to nature. That is either positive or negative. But see, we have triage relationship to a database organized crime, and with their roles with online investigators also, with evidences, rackets, preventing through time the worst natures of crimes and the worst natures of groups recorded to correlation from being demonstrated. Because we have only realized criminally influenced all positions formal and to the defense of what is only defensible through training and through areas maintained tactically, inter-science, and then inter-branch. First areas, then inter-science, then inter-branch, and industries. And then, again, with areas. We have methods and natures of organized crime that were inter-campus. In our inter-campus, they're also consciously inter-age of fact treatment nature. This is in relationship to poverty in conjunction simultaneously with the elderly homes in the little box. With the odds in relationship to food values and quality of it. When things like that, we all want them, need them. You know what I'm saying? Free speech is abridged. It's in relationship to how our founders didn't have free speech. We need to use correlation that they're asking us to use. We have to understand how this was obfuscated too. Relationship to rackets with narratives about George Washington with the cherry tree, published by many sources. In relationship to the recorded, not explained, but recorded extortion of our founders, fact treatment natures forced to feed roles, even to hide their relationships with the Constitutional Convention, the extent of it and all that. They had to stay roles with the criminal insidiousness natures to fact treatment natures as told to be by a crazy system that they told us to untange. But we're all bridged. So we can't interpret the articles, but unless we're going to entertain their breach state. In other words, we can't demonstrate sequence shifting rackets. They'll just attach people to fake conversations, use courts and prisons as weapons, unchecked, very evil. Read the Santa Claus. St. Nicholas is about this, about the nature of organized crime. So, but we need to set up a nature. You have to understand how many means there are. Because what's causing negative value nature progressions? This is only being seen by nature's realized needing to cover life progressions. Being able to discern that in relationship to clear bodies of value in relationship to means to exploit us that no one even realizes. People are being attached to database illusions. Our kids just let the schools and inter-campus with their policing and with the doctors of psychology recorded and involved with interbranch, internature of courts, database illusion stacking, physical delusion propagation, and then worse, overt internation drugs through their kids, and the psychology ones with the psychologist families that used in relationship to this method to keep them needing to cover live progressions and evidence fabrication, uses of databases, tricks with told not to speak medical information as means to make it up. And this is with areas investigators, interbranch, at the same time with the branches. So everyone has motivations to have negative fact treatment natures, to forsake every value nature of the Constitution, surface value, still not letting it let sickly, motivated not to it by money, but needing to keep negative fact treatment justifications. But then some of the rackets recorded also with and as the value of communism defenses and of capitalism at the same time, multi-front. Rackets against correlation. Correlation nature is a multi-front nature at once. It's not it's not just contradictions, it's exceptions. It's what aligns, what correlates, which is different than what aligns with physics. It's what aligns with physics, metaphysics, and overall, which is beyond our control. See, now nations are agreed to an overall that's top-down, gonna stay nature of identity. It's gonna stay negative value nature progressions. Negative. This is what we see. 2+ symbols in the question mark in the beginning. This is to teach about Allah's name demonstrably revealed before the Quran per science revealed this name. This is before temporary space nature, before temporary physical bodies of value. There was a quality of diffusion that made that come manifest. Something that was his physical matter. Not a big bang, because you can't bang until there's something there of matter, of whatever magnitude. So that is a quality of diffusion, space nature's identity in relationship to itself, which is in relationship to immediate space nature distinctly, in demonstration of this. So that would only stay positive to itself before temporary space nature. Now this is temporary space nature, as a quality of diffusion life. This is the middle part with the question that is either positive, that's answered by only one system, but this is being forced, defended, justified top down, not the overall system, which is only one system that is simultaneously positive overall as the value of all finite and as all active value at the same time, which is a nature's relationship to itself, no matter who it's in. And this is, in other words, this is also a relationship that we let our kids go to schools. And we're forced to job value nature systems uncharged, recorded criminally foreign influence. Only reason, because negative fact treatment natures with the interbranch criminal, worse than criminal incompetence, because of how this was set up to stay them used, justifying what, and this is also what we need forgiveness for, because we have all hurt conviction natures, multi-front, against correlation nature's voice and means and course. That's only one that's positive value nature progressions, evolution, positive environmental change. Not by accident, they obfuscate. They make people, they cultivate people to roles defending impositions, impressions, get rackets, fact treatment nature racket roles, pretending that the phrase environmental change means negative. In other words, everything's obfuscating. Whenever someone brings up evolution or religion, they force passions that keep the religions defended with physical delusions, with roles with intercampus, interages of campus, in areas maintained, originally progressed uncharged, criminally foreign influenced. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police form, I'm not a doctor. I'm an expert on the nature of English grammar. I'm an expert on correlation, on the sequence nature. Sequence nature is a temporary value nature too, but it is of perfect progressive value onto the nature of space's identity, which is the integrity that was before and stays beyond temporary space nature. It will only stay progressively positive value nature accumulation as a volume of progression in temporary space nature, which is nature, its complete identity can't be in but one way, in relationship to the sequence nature. At the same time, it's in demonstration to us through correlation that our nature is in diffusion through itself. People are defending the cross with physical delusions, with criminal foreign influences, criminally legalized criminal persuasions, and areas maintain criminal persuasions, because it's not about the cross. It's about quality of diffusion. It's about correlation nature. It's about, when it comes to physics, it's about the course of English grammar. It's relationship to the predicates, positive value nature, relationship to onto itself, inherently, actively, and progressively. There's a relationship to the predicate acts, relationship to onto itself, the nature, inherently, actively, and progressively. At the same time, because that's what is the determination of where this perfect identity is going to progress its value through. So to heal humanity, we have a value nature system, an identity, a value nature system, identities that's in relationship to the suit and tie, uncharged with roles. We need forgiveness for this, because we have knave faction units forcing fights because they're not dealing with sequences and acts when someone tells them that has to be dealt with. They're forcing it debatable when it's recorded, and then they're just putting other in courts because the courts are involved with areas crimes, and they were and are with the internation police were with their own and our own states and areas police forms can't have to cover up lie progressions for areas only let realized. Two rules of every